There's an image called flare.jpg. I was going to say what's wrong with this image, but I guess the name kind of gives it away. What's going on here? Why does this image look so kind of washed out and bleak? It's something about the situation in which it was photographed. Lens flare. Now, whenever a light source is really close to the lens, it doesn't even have to be in the image. You know, you've seen in movies where like there's a bright spot over here, like, you know, the sun or something, and then there's like this kind of orange series of circles on the side. And as this moves down, they kind of pass each other. That's lens flare. And in this case, it's hit the glass, so it's hit the lens, and it's gone refracted across inside. So basically it hit and it sprayed across the side, which makes it just kind of spray light across the sensor. Lenses are designed that light comes in, gets bent, focused, and makes a nice little pinpoint on the sensor there. And if you've ever opened up a lens, there's all kinds of black matting around the sides of different angles that are designed not to reflect light onto the sensor. But if it's really crazy bright, like in this case here, or sometimes if there's a bit of crud on your lens, like a thumbprint or something, and the light comes to the side, it can refract off that and just spray light right across the sensor. So if we were to look at the histogram, what sort of problems would you suspect to see in this? What kind of a histogram? Here's your black point, here's your white point. Where would you expect that mountain range to be? Towards the right side. Yeah, so there'd be what we call a BHFS, or a big honkin' flat spot, on the darker side. So let's call up the levels on that. An adjustment layer, of course, because we want to keep it non-destructive. And you'll see the BHFS over there. Let's grab that black point and pull it up. Now there is a bit of an issue. I've pulled my black point up to around like 77 or so up here, and it's looking pretty good in these areas, but it's still washed out at the top. The nature of flare is that it's not necessarily consistent across the image. In fact, this one even has, you can see these kind of bright lines streaking across. It can be circular shapes, it can be whatever sort of nastiness. This has helped the image around here, but to get these areas, look, see how there's no real darks in there. I need to pull it further. But if I pull it further, look at what happens to the bottom part. As I watch this area and pull my black point up, oh, it's looking better in the hair up there, but look at what's happening down here. This is starting to fill into pure black. What could I do about that? Are we limited to just one adjustment layer? Let's throw on another levels adjustment layer. And what is this little white thing over here attached to the adjustment layer? It's a layer mask. So we could use that to limit the effect of this second adjustment layer. So this one seems to overall clean up those shadows a bit. So we got some nice deep shadows in here. I need a little bit more up there, so I'll throw on another levels adjustment layer. I'm not going to worry about what the bottom part looks like. So I'll throw on a levels, grab that black point, and you notice you can see these spikes in here, the combing. This is the effect of having stretched out that histogram. Those gaps in between the different tonal values have started to appear. Pull this a little bit higher. Looks better around the face. Way too dark down there. No problem. Just grab my paintbrush, hit B on the keyboard, use the right square bracket to get a larger brush. And whenever you're painting on a layer mask, you want to make sure that you have pure black and pure white as your foreground and background. How do I do that from the keyboard? How do I get my default colors?
X, D.
Which first?
D.
D. And if I need to reverse my X. So D gets you your default colors. If you need to reverse them, X will switch them back and forth. Excellent. See what I did there? Now, with that black paint, I can hide that effect from this adjustment layer. So there's before, and there's after. And we can add whatever else we need. Like I'm thinking that her face is maybe a little bit too kind of washed out a bit. If I wanted to increase the contrast of that face, I could do it with the levels. I could pull the black and white point in. What's a better way of increasing contrast on an image? Not levels. The other curves. Okay, so guys, I want to put a little more contrast into her face. Here's a cool thing about the curves adjustment layer. Watch this. I'm going to throw on a curves, and I want to put a little bit of extra snap into the face. I need to know where on the curves that face is. Watch this. If I click on the finger, watch this 45-degree line as I hover over the image. That little circle is showing me where on that curve the part that I'm hovering over is. So if I go into a bright area, you can see it's way high up on the string. If I go to a dark area, it's way low down on the string. If I pan over her face, this is showing me the area that her face is in, the area of tonality. And to increase the contrast, you want this to become a steeper slope. So if I could take this area here, it looked like the circle was going around this area. If I could pull this part up, it would brighten her face, kind of the brighter parts of her face. But if I took this part down, it would darken the dark parts of her face. Watch this. And I'm only looking at the face. It's going to affect the entire image. That's OK. I've got my layer mask there. So I see it's in that area around there, so I'll grab this part, pull it upwards. You can see that it brightens the bright parts of the face. And if I pull this part down, it'll darken the dark parts of the face. So you can isolate parts of the image and play around with the contrast in them. So I think that's looking a little bit better in the face, but again, it's affecting the entire image. Well, I'll just take this layer mask, and what's a fast way to fill that layer mask with black? Command I. I could go under Image, Adjustments, Invert, and then black would become white would become black, red would become cyan. But the fast way is Command I. Inverse that layer mask, grab that paintbrush, hit X on the keyboard, and I can bring back that extra punch of contrast just in that area.